Marco Rubio making moves on Greenland as Trump extremely serious about buying island valued at $3.3 billion, sources say. Rob, I think you got a clip on this
billion?
as well. $3.3 billion.
That's a lot of money for ice.
That's actually not a lot of money if you think about it, right? So not for the resources that they have. Remember, we bought Alaska for $7.2 million, and they called it the dumbest deal of all time until later on America found gold and oil, and then they said, oh, my God, what a great deal. So, Rob, if you got this clip, go ahead and play it. Go for it.
Mr. Secretary, on Denmark, why is the administration not taking Denmark's offer to discuss the situation in Greenland? And
I'll be meeting with them next week.
But will you take military intervention off the table?
I'm not here to talk about Denmark or military intervention. I'll be meeting with them next week. We'll have those conversations with them then. And but I'm not having anything further to add to that today.
Well, I think it's a simple. I think it's a treaty that we can have.
Let me go to Tom first, and then I'll come to you. Go ahead, Tom.
I think what people are missing here is we have an aggressive Russia that's in the middle of a war, and this is the part, this isn't too far below the surface, no pun intended, but their major submarine base and their naval is on the north side. Greenland becomes a strategic listening post, and NATO has been quietly talking about Greenland as a strategic place to, observe Russia and to have military installation there as part of northern Atlantic. Remember, NATO, North Atlantic. This is the area. And so Greenland has been a topic for a while. The Brits and the Germans have been all talking about who's going to foot the bill. When Greenland comes up, there's big bills in NATO. And guess what Trump has been doing? He's been forcing Europe. Pat, he force Europe to pay their fair share of those NATO bills.
Everybody increase slowly, yes.
That's exactly. And so what's going on in Greenland, the U.S. strategically, below the surface, wants to turn Greenland into Puerto Rico. It'll have its own independence in this, but it's going to be like Guam, some American Samoa, and Puerto Rico. That's what's going to be there. And then it's going to get military installations there. And then second, China is already there cutting contracts to dig up half of Greenland to get to rare earth minerals, which belong to, in the eyes of Washington, to a security narrative on a global security basis. You don't want China there doing that. So it solves China and the rare earth minerals. It provides protection. If you figure out who's going to pay for Greenland and the NATO protection, which is going to be us, and the news media wants to call it an invasion, like we're going to take it over, like China's about to take over Taiwan. No, that's not what's going on here. It starts with security and keeping China out of our backyard. That's where it starts.
Adam, where are you at with this?
To me, this is such a Trump move. I can just see Trump sitting in a meeting one day, and they're being like, Trump, what are your thoughts on green? It's like, it's green. I love green. It's money, land. I love real estate. It's the world's largest island. I don't know if you know that. We're going to make Greenland great again. I just see Trump being obsessed with Greenland. Yes, there's geopolitical notions with this. Yes, there's assets there. Yes, there's minerals there, whatever it may be strategically. I think just knowing Trump at the lowest common denominator, he's like, love me some Greenland, and he's now obsessed with Greenland. That's my assumption.
Rob, your thoughts?
All right. I got a couple things to say. I think that Denmark has to negotiate something that benefits the people of Greenland. And I think they could, absolutely. I just think in the same way, I think Canada could have a good negotiation. But specifically with Greenland, it is I was way more dovish than any of this stuff. But I think when you think geopolitically, and you have to work out some sort of situation. So you cannot have China taking over Venezuela and that oil. You just can't do it and expect to still, have, to have your dominance in this region. And and we need to do that. I would never have thought I would have gotten there. And the same thing with Greenland. They have to work out some accommodation, but they will. I mean, it's a treaty. At the end of the day, they'll come up to Denmark and they'll have some kind of treaty. It's just that Trump comes off to these people as uncouth and bombastic in the way he talks. And I think if it was like Clinton, they would have figured out a deal already. Seriously, because, the Democrats, and it's all the media that just, just like how the headline that J.D. Vance read, they manipulate. They just manipulate. It's just political warfare and to undermine this conservative, this anti-establishment president. So I do think that we're not going to have it. We'll say, as far as Greenland's concerned, they have to have a treaty. And if they won't do the treaty, I think that there's another way to make that work. I do think, though, if you look at our Constitution, it has to be Congress has to approve any military action, no matter what. There still has to be through Congress. Unfortunately, after 9/11, the Congress has just given all the powers, and we no longer have a legislature. We just have an emperor that we elected.
PBD, can I get your opinion on this? Because, we saw what the late night comics did. They said that just a diversion, him going after Maduro is just a deflection after the Epstein files. If you're putting yourself in Trump's shoes, you have so much going on in the world. You just did the Mideast peace deal, Maduro. Where is Greenland legitimately on his list of priorities, in your opinion?
Yeah, I don't know where it's on his list. Here's what I will tell you. If you study history, America, for the longest time, we were all about expansionism. So we had the 13 colonies originally, and then we buy Louisiana for $7.2 million from Napoleon because he was fighting everybody in Europe. Yep. So then America doubles in size, Rob, if you want to pull up the map, when we bought Louisiana for $7.2 million. And then from there, we buy Florida for $5 million for nothing. Literally, we buy Florida for $5 million.
Yes.
And then we go to the only one that we had to go to war for land was against Mexico, which we got California, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, all of that. Texas actually wasn't war. Texas became its own country from 1836 to 1845, and they even had their own embassy. If you pull up, Rob, Embassy of Texas in London and France. Type in Texas Embassy, London, France, and go to images. If you go to images, take a look at this. This is Texas's embassy right there, Rob. Click on the one you had right there on the first one you had. No, on the first one you had, Rob. On the first one you had, Rob. You had on that right. Rob, you just had zoom in on that one if you can. Yeah, Texas. That is their embassy in London, and we had it also in France. So Texas chooses to come in and be part of the union, but we had to pay Mexico $3.4 million. We rolled the debt, and we paid Mexico $15 million. And then Hawaii was known as their own kingdom across a lot of different countries. Hawaii comes in, and we're expanding. And then the last biggest expansion president that we had was a guy named James Polk. James Polk draws a line, which he was brilliant, by the way. If you see James Polk's line, Rob, can you type in James Polk border line Cuba, Mexico? If you just type in James Polk border line Cuba, Mexico, go to images, you'll see it. Here's what he said should be the line. Go a little bit lower. Yeah, you can just use that one, Rob, the one you have up. Make it bigger. His line was Mexico needed to be a part of America. Cuba needed to be a part of America. And he was expanding. And then Congress is like, no. If we bring Mexico to be a part of it, we're going to get too many Catholics and we're going to have to give them, it's going to confuse the nationalists that we have in America. So then afterwards, World War I happens. And after World War I, when that takes place, everybody was like, this is going to be the last war. We're not going to have another war after this one, and then we're going to be fine. And they're like, wait a minute. We became isolationists. We kind of like, look, don't mind anybody's, but we became a little bit scared. God forbid next war happens, because some of these things that we had, we didn't have a lot of weapons. We were not a strong military yet. Then comes the next phase, which is by far the phase that is not the good phase. Post-1950 World War II, when that comes, we decide to intervene in different ways. So we go do coups or sanctions or proxy wars, and that's what we start. We start poking and getting involved in 20 elections.
That was to stop communism. Though,
yeah,
right?
Well, no, it was a manipulation.
That's because of the whole communism. Let me finish, Rob.
Yeah.
So this is the whole thing because of communism. But then when that happens after 1950, guess what started in 1947? The CIA started in 1947. So now, since Polk, the first time ever we're getting a president that's thinking about expansionism without killing anybody. It's like hey, we're going to go in. Maduro's out. Here's what we're doing, 30 to 50 million barrels. Quite frankly, if you're American, how do you think America became America? You think all these lands were just handed to us? You know, hey, let me have this land, take it. No, you go in and say, so to me, a part of me is saying, if Trump can go and say, Panama Canal, we're doing this deal, China, you're not getting involved, period. I'm putting this here, it's going to come through, and if you don't, I'm going to come out here and take all the oil from you from Venezuela. If you want to come to the Western Hemisphere, this whole Monroe Doctrine, we're going to turn it into a Monroe Doctrine. The Western Hemisphere's priority is ours. You guys go deal with everything else. So I like that he's expanding and thinking long-term, because forget this term. Go next president. And think if China decides to do the next COVID. What is the next COVID thing that China could do? So imagine if, one, they shut down the Panama Canal and food and supplies not coming here. Two, China has all these minerals that you need. If they have control of that and we don't have, so now he goes and says, no, we need Greenland because I can't. The way he's sequencing this out, if people are not following this, so I support this. I know a lot of people are saying, this is not what I voted for, this is not what I did this. I voted for this. I like the fact that he's playing offense and thinking 40 years. And the more we study history, you'll realize long-term, this is going to protect Americans. Is this going to be beneficial for everybody around the world? Maybe, but I know it's going to be beneficial for America, so I support it. Right.
Well, if you take a look at Libya, Somalia, Yemen, Afghanistan, Iraq, those places are not better off with American intervention. I will say that, that was mentioned by Congressman Thomas Massie, who I like a lot, and I know Trump doesn't like him now. But he's wrong about Venezuela, and I'll tell you simply this. All those countries had one thing in common. They had tribes who hated each other, and when the dominating force, whether it was Saddam Hussein, whatever, was taken out of power, then it became this killing field. And that's what happens when America interferes in that region. I will say it's not going to happen in Venezuela because you got Catholics there. Here's what you never hear. Hey, a group of Christians went on a train the other day and stabbed a bunch of people. You don't hear that. So I think it's, we have to be wary of just going in and replacing other leaders around the world. If this guy's a drug pin, if it'll be brought out in court. I mean, I think the people who are protesting against this are these white liberals. But anybody who has any Venezuelan experience and any Venezuelan, they're all celebrating for a reason. And I have to listen to that because I don't know as much as them.
Well, I know a lot of Venezuelans in Miami, and not one is upset about Maduro. And by the way, that goes for anyone that has any affiliation with Latin America. My Colombian friends are happy about this. My Mexican friends about this. Anyone who hates communism and fascism and socialism advocates for this. I'll say one thing that I agree with you on. We don't understand that side of the world as well as they thought they did. Yeah, something that I always think about is that every country wants the same two things: peace and prosperity. So in Venezuela, they want that. In Greenland, they want that. Mexico, they want that. On that side of the world,
they don't want that.
They don't want peace and prosperity.
Want global domination.
A lot of what they want is jihad. So we went in there trying to give them peace and prosperity and democracy. They're like, not so fast. We're jihadists. We're trying to take over the world in our frame of worldview. So to me, it's completely different what we tried to do toppling these regimes decades ago versus what's happening now.
I can tell you about Thomas Massie and some of these guys on not wanting to be involved. And I get that. I get the whole conversations of not wanting to do that. But I don't mind expanding. I don't mind thinking long term. I don't mind strategizing our next moves. I totally get that part of, I will not want military to go into Greenland like Rand Paul. Is this the clip with Rand Paul saying? Go ahead and play this clip and Tom, I'm going to come to you next on this one. Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead, G.
It won't happen under my
Rob,
watch.
today your name is G, just so you know that.
Kind of military takeover of Greenland. What I can tell you, though, is if you want to purchase Greenland, the best way would be to try to have goodwill with the people. So first, it would probably require a vote of the people to be independent of Denmark, which I think the people of Greenland are inclined to do. And then it would have to be some sort of offer of something that makes it better to be part of the United States. We have acquired territory. I mean, half of the United States came to us through the Louisiana Purchase. Alaska came to us through a purchase. But you didn't get to those purchases like any deal or diplomacy by insulting your opponent. You get there by actually trying to please.
You can pause it. So Tom, your thoughts on this?
So getting back to what you were talking about American expansion, Yeah, that's not about military intervention and blood on the floor. Not at all. Most Americans don't know about a couple things because our news media refuses to talk about it. But the GIUK gap, some people call it the Juke Gap, GIUK, which stands for Greenland, Iceland, UK, is a gap in the North Atlantic that is strategically important and over the last 5 years has had tremendous increase in Russian sub-activity. And so in September of last year, what was Operation Arctic Light? That wasn't in the headlines. It was a major naval exercise by NATO that was on the coast of Iceland, the west coast of Iceland, and the east coast of, there it is, Arctic Light. Major military exercise, because NATO came to Denmark and said, man, we got to do this exercise here. We're going to do some testing. We want to be below the ice in the North Sea, and we want to have submarine listening installations. There's things we want to do. And Denmark said, well, I'm a little light on cash this week. I assume you guys are going to pay for it. And there it is. The United States, France, Germany, Norway, and Sweden were part of the bankroll for this. Then let's go back to May. You know what Operation Dynamic Mongoose was? It was another North Atlantic activity because of increased Russian naval activity. NATO has been up there looking over this for a while, and then the Chinese are pulling in to get minerals. I support this expansion because there's a security element and an expansion element. And let me quote Marco Rubio, the one quote he gave that wasn't on television apparently. He said, look, we're eager to build lasting commercial relationships that benefit Americans and the people of Greenland and Denmark. Our common adversaries are increasingly active in the Arctic. It's a huge concern that the United States and Denmark and the NATO allies share. So if the America expands it, I support what Trump is doing. Look how many parts of this get solved by Trump showing leadership on a world stage and doing this.
I want to give Trump a little credit for one thing. I was very frustrated with Trump, and especially in his first term, when the rhetoric and the bombasticness of his words were, we're going to win so big, you're going to get sick of winning, and then we weren't winning. And it was so easy to be like, what now? At this point, we are winning, and his actions are speaking louder than his words. I'll also say another thing. The challenge that he had in his first administration in 2016, he had all these bootlickers around him that wouldn't talk back to him. Look what Mike Pence does. Mike Pence was probably the worst VP for not even counteracting maybe anything that Trump did. Look at the two people closest to Trump now. You have Marco Rubio, who was a foe and was deemed little Marco, that is now maybe the greatest Secretary of State we've seen in our lifetime. And number two, a Trump-hating VP named J.D. Vance, who is a fighter and advocate for him. So in my opinion, Trump is
Elon Musk
working with people that may or may not he would have aligned with in his first time in office, and they're basically helping him win so big that we're not getting tired of winning.
Well, look at Elon Musk as well. I mean, they had their little fight, and they're back and had dinner this week. Mm-hmm. Look, he's not afraid to meet with people and work with people. And President Trump has done an exceptional job, I believe. And I'm shocked at how I just can't believe that Iranian bombing success. I mean, I'm against bombing anybody in the Middle East, and I think he knows more than I do.
Why
they know more than I do.
Bombing anybody in the Middle East?
Well, I'm against just unilaterally just going without the Congress's approval and bombing. I think that's. But as far as it seemed to be effective to take out, the nuclear
everyone
ambition.
says that, Rob, and I want to get your opinion. Every time that we need to do something, we need to have people that can't agree on anything agree on something of massive magnitude. That to me is counterproductive for our country.
Well, in our Constitution, you have to have the Congress decides going to war.
If we're going to war, but is a single bombing a war? What constitutes a war? What we did in Venezuela
constitutes. If you're going to kill people, that constitutes a war. If it's not.
Then we have a war on our street every single day.
We do. Okay, let me just say this thing. As far as this is really interesting, and I think PBD, you're going to like this, and I think this is, as far as the rare earth minerals, China potentially cutting us off is a national defense issue. However, there is an answer to this, and this is to me, absolutely incredible. There's a chemist, James Tour, T-O-U-R.
We know James Tour.
The nanotechnologist with using flash drill technology can make, and you guys know him? This guy is the potential answer for making, getting these rare earth minerals out of recycling old electronics and taking ash from coal burning plants and then basically putting between these two hot coils like a toaster, and then that turns it, and then when you put is it chloride on it and it's
Chlorophyll.
then you have then you're able to make these things at a lower temperature to get more of these rare earth minerals, and this is the answer. We don't need China, and truthfully, we don't even need the rare earth minerals in Greenland. You can make it right here, and I think I'm going to go out to that plant in March and check it out. And I think that's the answer, and that's what
until that day when they figure that out,
they haven't figured out.
We're expanding and protecting it to make sure long-term we're good. But I love that there's ideas like this, and I think that's going to be happening. But somebody online proposed a great idea about how to get Greenland, and it's straight up out of Game of Thrones type of stuff. And they said, why don't we just have Baron Trump marry Princess Isabella of Denmark, and Greenland is given to America as dowry payment. So not a bad idea. I just don't know if that's his type or not. She's not bad looking, but we'll see. I mean,
that's not what your country can do for you. What can you do for your country? Baron Trump, we need you, buddy.
I think it's a sacrifice that I think he should make.
It's a sacrifice that he should make. Vinny, his gear, faith over fear, tens of thousands of pieces sold out in a couple weeks. Tell us about faith over fear, Vinny.
Well, just letting everybody know, I appreciate everybody that's getting on board. I saw a guy at the airport that was wearing the faith over fear. I was at a diner and some guy patted me on the back and was like, hey, what is that all about? And he wanted to know what Hebrews 11 chapter 1 was, and we got into a really good conversation. And I know I always talk about faith over fear being like in the Bible with the centurion soldier whose kid was healed, where Jesus just said, go, because of your faith, it's going to be healed. And the woman that had the bleeding issue that pushed through the crowd, that just touched Jesus's hem of his clothing, and he was healed. So I want people to know that that's back in the biblical days. Faith over fear still applies today. It's it's with starting a business when the numbers scare you, speaking the truth when silence feels safer. Fear waits for comfort, and faith moves with conviction. You guys can go on there right now. We have a hat that's coming soon. I don't want to give it away, but you guys can go to, is it FLB?
VTmerch.com.
Oh, VTmerch. Go to VTmerch.com. Guys, we have hoodies, we have hats, rock it, and let people know where you stand.
I love it. Go to VTmerch.com, place your order, buy it for yourself, your friends, your peers.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.